Alright, for today's critical thought, I want to return to the topic of the first time experience when it comes to a video game. Originally, I had a different critical thought planned for recording, but I had a chance to sit down and play a game that was sent to me by an indie developer. This is their big title they've spent years working on. It's done by a solo developer. The publisher of it was really keen for me to get a copy and check it out, and I was so excited to play it. And then after 7 minutes, I just stopped playing because I didn't want to do it anymore. And that is not good. And it reminds me of one of the biggest challenges of game design, and that is crafting the experience. As we've said before, video games are a combination of programming and entertainment. And we've seen this in the past with many developers usually focusing on one or the other. But the problem is, if you want to build a competent product and something that you're actually intending to sell, both need to be hit right. If you're good on gameplay but lousy on the programming side, you'll have a game that's fun to play when it works. If you're the opposite, you'll have something that is technically competent, but no one wants to play because they don't enjoy it. And today's critical thought is going to combine some of our topics we've talked about before. For the consumers watching this, you can pretty much take a day off from watching this video. If you're a developer, especially a first-time one, you might want to start recording this. But the first-time experience is a very important part of any game, especially when you're trying to put in the hands of people who have either played the genre before or are brand new. And this touches many different aspects of game development, especially playtesting, which we've talked about extensively on Critical Thoughts and on some recent live casts. But it is crucial to get your game in the hands of people as early as you can, because the earlier you can get those impressions from fresh eyes, the easier it's going to be to develop your game and fix issues. This is one of the reasons why early access has been such a major benefit to game developers, as it is far easier to correct problems found during the alpha stage than it is 3 days after release. And playtesting is a big part of that. As we've talked about with many developers before, there's definitely a very big trap that some people will fall into when it comes to designing their game, and that is basically the isolated developer. This is when someone will develop a game and basically not talk to anyone in the outside world for 2 to 3 years. Or they may show, their 5 to 10 friends their game, and then it's right back to their own personal cave. And this is a very dangerous attitude to have when it comes to developing a title. Because in today's world, everybody is trying to create their own magnum opus. And consumers and critics alike don't have time to quote-unquote find the fun. I've said this before, but if your game starts annoying me in the first 5 to 10 minutes of play, I'm not sticking around. I have 10, 20, who knows how many games I have on my Steam backlog to have to get to at some point. And it is very, very vital to think about how someone brand new is going to approach your game. And this is why playtesting is so important, because when you are the person or team who has built this game from scratch, new stuff aren't going to shock you when it comes to playing your game. And having someone who's never looked at your game can still provide benefit just as much as giving it in the hands of a pro player. So the game that I was playing, and I won't say the name of it obviously because I don't want to get the guy in trouble, this was a game that it looks to be very much a passion project. It's developed by one developer, looks like it's taken a few years to get going, and they've even built a custom-made collector's edition for the game. I was reading the store page just before I started the critical thought, and they're, going through the bullet points, handcrafted worlds, hours of entertainment, grand story, and stuff like that. And when I load things up, all I saw was just a train wreck. I'm kind of debating if I want to just show the intro off in a video without naming the game, just to go over all the bad issues I have with it. And this is one of those big points about game design. And like I said earlier, it is very much an art form to create a good video game. This would be akin, or this game would be akin to someone building their dream car, getting it all lavishly painted, everything working. They say, try it out. You get in the car, put your hands on the steering wheel, and the whole steering column just falls off. That's how bad this can be when it comes to a video game. And this is very bad, especially when you're trying to get people interested in your game. Because like I said, people are not going to stick around to find your fun 5, 10, 15 hours into play. And I'm looking at the game right now on Steam, and there are no reviews for this game. And a part of me is not so surprised about that. And again, that's not something you want someone to say about your video game. And when it comes to designing the first time experience, as we've said before, one of the most common suggestions or tips that professional game developers will give is that the first part of your game should be the last part that gets done. Because you want the opening of your game to be as polished, intuitive, and as accessible as you can make it. If you want your game to be complicated, save that for people who are willing to dedicate 5 to 10 hours into it. Don't throw 57 screens, 30 different mechanics, and no tutorial in front of someone who's never played your game. And this is especially true even if you are aiming for a hardcore market. Because again, especially if your game is a unique take on that. Because I have played many games from the independent space that offer a experience that there are no correlating games out there. We looked at Niche a few weeks ago by the time you're watching this video, which was a survival DNA-based roguelike kind of game, and the tutorial for that was just horrible. And it was doubly so because there's no other game to reference to say, oh, it's just like this, so let me play it like that. This is why action-based games can get away with a very light tutorial. You've played Mario, well, you know a little bit about Sonic, and then that can reference Super Meat Boy, and you can insert any 2D platformer there. First-person shooters are the same way. You've shot one sniper rifle, chances are you'll be able to shoot one in Battlefield or Call of Duty and so on and so forth. But again, when it comes to the independent space and how so many developers are trying to build their own unique dream game, you have to understand things from a first-time user. And if you're so involved in the game that you can't see that, get your game in front of people who have never looked at it before. When we talked to John Brieger a few weeks ago, he said that for many of his playtesting, he would send them the game and say, I want you to record yourself playing this, either audio and video or just one or the other, and I want to hear what you're going through. And that is very big, and again, why early access is such a big part of this. And let me just say this right here for any first-time developers watching. Your tutorial that you first design your game around should not be the same tutorial that you ship your game with. Because by the time you've reached the end of your game and you know how everything works, you should be able to fit that into a tutorial for someone brand new to understand. And like we've talked about many times over, the tutorial aspect of your game is very much an underrated and underappreciated part of game design. But it is still critical to get right, because this can mean the difference between attracting new fans or pushing them away forever. Now, to wrap up today's critical thought, I have a few questions for you folks. For the consumers watching, can you think of a game that you've played that the first impression was so horrible that you didn't care about any positive press or any positive feedback from your fans or friends, you just, tossed that game out? And then on the other hand, can you think of a game that had a really bad opening, but still managed to win you over somehow? Let's say you got over that initial hump and you saw what was beautiful about that title. Now, for the developers watching this, how do you approach designing your tutorial, and what do you do to cater or assist when it comes to the first time experience? Because let me answer part of that for you. You have to do something. Whether it's a big element or a small part of your game, you always have to have some kind of accommodation for a new player. Some games, it's as elaborate as a custom difficulty level, a super involved tutorial. Other times, it may just be simply as saying, here are the controls. This is how you move your character. Go get this item. Now you can start playing our game. But at the end of the day, you have to do something. And like I've said before in this video, you can't afford not to. If you're a fan of this, you know what I'm about to say next. But as you're watching this video right now, I am sure somewhere there's at least 5 to 10 video games being released this very day. And people don't want to spend time trying to fight a game in order to enjoy it. And going back to the original statement for today's critical thought, again, video game design is an art. And it doesn't matter if you are the greatest programmer in the world teamed up with the best artist in the world, if no one on your team understands game design. You'll end up with a technically amazing, beautiful looking piece of doo-doo. We'll keep things PG-13 here for YouTube, of course. But with that said, thank you for watching today's critical thought. If you enjoyed things, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. If you have a suggestion for a future vlog, please let me know. But otherwise, check back for daily discussions on game design here and on Game Wisdom, where we examine the art and science of games. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. For my writings as well as weekly podcasts, check out game-wisdom.com. For ways of supporting Game Wisdom and get access to rewards such as VIP status, as well as voting for the Saturday Night Grab Bag, check out patreon.com/gwbycer. You can follow me on Twitter at gwbycer for my daily thoughts as well as updates as to what's going on. So thanks again for watching, and be sure to check out our next video coming real soon to the channel.